The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. I want to provide a brief introduction to Dr. Kevin Jardine, the host of today's webinar, The Nourished Athlete, High Performance Nutrition for High-Performing People. So Dr. Kevin Jardine is a recognized leader in the field of high-performance development, physical medicine and nutrition, and also the creator of CrossFuel Pure Performance. With decades of experience working with some of the world's top performers, teams, and Olympians, Dr. Jardine is focused on helping people understand the science of how to feel and perform at their absolute best. Dr. Jardine has taught in over 50 countries on various topics related to physical medicine, high-performance nutrition, and exercise sciences, while continuing to actively see patients in his Toronto multidisciplinary practice. So without further ado, I will let Dr. Jardine take the floor.
Great, thank you very much, and it's an absolute pleasure to be able to present content that has always fascinated me, as far as what we put in our bodies having a direct impact on what we get out of our bodies. So we're going to go through today and focus more on high performance nutrition, and we'll touch on some key concepts that hopefully will make an impact on your life and on the lives that you're working with in your business training clients. So here's a sketch of myself, and as mentioned, I live in Toronto. I have a practice here, multidisciplinary practice called the Urban Athlete, and I spend a lot of time treating clients. I used to work a lot on the professional field, working with Tour de France champions and working with various different professional athletes in various different disciplines. I've had the honor of working with Olympians and world champions, and then the everyday person trying to take their lives to the next level and kind of move more and hurt less. And a large part of what I do is staying active and fit myself. I'm a fitness enthusiast. I like to do lots of different adventures. I've done some Ironman events. I do some CrossFit competitions, and I really enjoy being active. Most of my career has all been centered around helping people achieve feeling and performing at their best. I've been fascinated with what makes somebody healthy, why the body breaks down, and that has really driven me in many different directions with regards to my professional education and searching out some of those answers based on physiology, based on medicine, based on psychology. And in today's talk, we're going to be talking more about the nutritional side of performance and how what you put in really does determine what you get out. And we need to ask ourselves, is the body being supplied with what it needs to energize, protect, and repair itself? And those things will become key as we go through the presentation, as far as really what does performance nutrition provide you. And the energize, protect, and repair part of that is something that we're going to highlight and touch more intricately on. A large part of nutrition, like many things when it comes to understanding the body, can become very complex. And if you're like me and you're a consummate learner, you'll have found that the more you learn, the more challenged you become as far as figuring out all the pieces and how to put them together. And it really is one of those things that the more you do learn, the more you think you don't know anything. So we're going to go through today, and I'm going to help put some of those pieces of the puzzle together, but from my perspective, in ways that I've seen the benefits with the athletes I've worked with the individuals I've cared for, and even for myself that I've tested and experimented on myself to see some of the results that I can get. So these are my perspectives, and there's many different perspectives out there, many different experts, and I encourage you to get a broad perspective yourself on all of these different topics related to nutrition, because it can be somewhat confusing. Performance nutrition, and that's specifically what we're going to be talking about here, is something that I define as nutritional strategies that can be leveraged to enhance both your work and adaptive capacity. Now take a moment and read that again. Performance nutrition is utilizing nutritional strategies. That can be food, that can be supplements, that are leveraged. So they're there to help you gain an advantage, to enhance both your work and adaptive capacity. That is ultimately what I define performance nutrition as. And the increased work capacity is really, your ability to work harder, to produce more power, more force, have more energy. And the greater work capacity that you have, the greater your fitness will be. And that's a pretty simple equation, but it is true. The more work you can do when it comes to working out and at intensity, the greater your fitness level is going to be. Now, when it comes to improving your ability to adapt, this becomes crucially important for improving your performance, because it is the result of your ability or your body's ability to adapt to the demands that you impose on it that are going to determine the pace of your improvements in performance. It's not so much what you do in the gym or while you're training or while your clients are training, but it's their ability and it's your ability to adapt to those demands that will determine how much improvement that you get. On the flip side of that coin, we have injuries. And none of us like having an injury, yet it is an extremely common thing out there when it comes to people just in everyday life, and unfortunately even those who engage in exercise. So injuries then become something that happens with an inability to adapt to the demands that are imposed. Now that might be an acute injury, like walking off of a curb and not knowing it's there and you roll your ankle and you sprain it. Your body couldn't adapt to that immediate demand of the ankle rolling over and it got injured. Or it could be over the long term, training and not recovering properly, or doing too much volume, or doing too much too soon, or too much frequency of training, and your body just fails to adapt to those demands, and that's where somebody gets injured. So with things like performance nutrition, we're trying to help create an opportunity for your body to, A, do more work so you have greater fitness and you get better results, but also improve its adaptive capacity so that you're able to supply your body with what it needs, energy and protection and repair-wise, so that it can increase its performance while protecting your long-term health. Speaking of demands, when we talk about fitness, there are unique demands that are placed on the body. And we've all seen the boom in high-intensity fitness. I partake a lot in high-intensity fitness. I do a lot of things like CrossFit, and I do a lot of things, like going and running the Grand Canyon rim to rim, all in one shot, being 14 hours. That puts a large demand on the body, psychologically, physically, and metabolically, that the body has to adapt to if you're going to stay injury-free. And in things like high-intensity fitness, engaging in exhaustive fitness really does put a lot of stress and strain on the body. And things like performance nutrition can help you target a plan to help your body combat some of that stress and provide it the energy. Because as well as some of the demands that it places on the body, it places unique demands on the energy systems of the body as well. Because now you have fitness in which you could be doing a 1 mile max run, or you could be doing as many burpees as you can in 5 minutes, or picking up heavy weights up and above your head in as many rounds as possible in a given time frame. So the demands on your energy systems for power and endurance, explosiveness, are also things that performance nutrition can help you be better at, so giving you that energy you need so your body can perform at its best. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the world's fittest athletes out there. And one thing I can tell you is that fitness and health are two different things. Often people see them as the same, but they're not. You can have somebody who's quite healthy, but they're not very fit. On the flip side of that, you can have somebody who is exceptionally fit and they're not very healthy. It's been my goal in my career to find that secret point in the middle in which we can help somebody improve their fitness and improve their performance in life, but while protecting their health. Because without health, there can be no success of any kind, in my mind. That's what I believe. And I know that you're probably very similar. So we want to help ourselves and our clients perform at their maximum ability, but we also want them to maximize the quality and the quantity of their lives with the greatest of health. So there are things that you can do that will help you improve performance while protecting your health. Often it's been a myth, or it's been a practice, I should say, that's been a reality in the past where people have engaged in performance-enhancing strategies and taking different stimulants that can rob themselves of their long-term health. And we want to avoid that. At least with my advice, that is the goal. So what does performance nutrition provide you? As I mentioned in the very beginning, energy. It helps energize the body for explosiveness, for endurance, and everything in between. It helps the body repair itself so that it can rebuild stronger, leaner, more resilient tissue. And it helps protect the body against the stress and the strain of exercise. Every time you exercise, you're increasing demands on your cardiorespiratory system. On a cellular basis, you're creating some damage. You're creating free radicals, which are causing your body to rust from the inside out. The better you are at protecting your body from that stress, and the quicker you can get your body to repair itself after exercise, the greater your performance abilities will be, and quite frankly, the better your overall health will be. Those three things, the energize, protect, and repair, are synergistic. You energize the body and get it ready for activity. You protect it while you're engaged in activity, preventing even things like dehydration. Then you allow the body to repair and rebuild itself stronger than before by making sure that it does have what it needs to do so in a very effective way. When it comes to performance nutrition, the most important first thing to start with is a strong foundation in whole foods. There are no performance nutrition strategies that can take the place of a bad eating plan. If you're eating garbage or your clients are eating garbage throughout the entire day, it doesn't matter what supplement they take. It's not going to help them overcome some of the hurdles of just feeding their bodies with garbage. So the first thing to do is build a strong foundation that you can build all of the other pillars upon. It's like this image here. You can't do it successfully the other way around. And you can only build something up as high, as wide as you have a base. So that means the bigger your base, your foundation, the higher you can go. And the same thing with your performance. The stronger your foundation in nutrition and whole foods, the better it's going to be for your overall dietary approach. And as I mentioned, supplements won't do the trick. Even with some of the claims that are out there on some of the miraculous things that they can do, and they can. I'm a big supplement fan, but with the right supplements, with the right evidence to support the right dose for the right individuals for the right goals. Now I know that sounds complicated, but it really is important to make sure that people are using things that are going to help them and get them results and not hinder both their health or their pocketbook. This is a very simplistic thing that I teach my clients, and I've actually taught my 8-year-old daughter as far as helping her to understand the difference between whole food and processed food. So I basically have taught her to go through this checklist. If it doesn't run, fly, swim, grow in the ground, or on trees, then don't eat it. Now I know this is very rigid and it takes a lot of discipline to do this. And I don't do this 100%. I typically follow an 80-20 rule. I have 2 little girls that are the center of my universe, and I take them out for ice cream and I enjoy it with them. But I also exercise and I keep very good care of my health. So for some individuals, they have to stick with this because if they eat the ice cream, then they end up with more severe health consequences. But for most people, they can follow successfully that kind of 80-20 approach. And if they are challenged with figuring out, how to differentiate whole foods from processed, try teaching them this formula. If it does run, fly, swim, it's grown in the ground or on trees, then it's a whole food. If it doesn't, then it's not. I'm also an advocate of, when possible, eating organic. I don't think it's a fad or a trend. I do think some companies take advantage of it for sure. But there are certain foods out there that have higher known levels of toxicities in there that can be harmful to your long-term health. Some of the ones here on this screen make up the dirty dozen as far as ones that you should make sure that you get, if you have the opportunity to, organically. Because if you don't, the chances of higher pesticide and toxin level in them is going to be higher. So when we're talking about a foundation of good nutrition, we have to make sure that the nutrition we take in is absorbed and utilized by our bodies in a healthy way. It's not so much what you eat nowadays that determines, your overall health status when it comes to nutrition. It's what your body absorbs and it's how it's utilized. And you want to make sure you're absorbing and utilizing energy and food that helps you and serves you, not causes your body to have to work harder to get rid of some of that toxic load. When it comes to performance nutrition, I like to break it down into what's called the outer zone and the inner zone. The outer zone is really kind of your overall foundation of nutrition, what you do every day, to help your body energize, protect, and repair itself. And I'll go into detail with some of those things that you can do that science has uncovered to help give you an advantage when it comes to feeling better and performing at your best. Let's start though with the inner zone. The inner zone is more of the traditional sports nutrition zone, kind of the pre, intra, and post-workout or post-training zone. So the first one is the pre. This is workout. Now this can be anywhere up to an hour before training. And this is really around the primary goal of how to energize the body and how to get it in a position where it can perform at its best with the highest work capacity possible. Remember, greater work capacity means greater overall fitness. A lot of people ask me, what should I eat before I work out? And it can get a bit complicated because, for individuals who are really pushing the limit of their performance, you have to make sure you equate for how to maximize their blood sugar for that training event. But for the most part, individuals just engaging in high-intensity fitness or general training, you want to make sure that you have some type of meal or food, ideally, if you have a chance, 3 hours before training. Now I know it's going to be different for those of you who train first thing in the morning, and I'll explain what to do there. But for individuals who have the opportunity, eating about 3 hours before training, and then right as you start training itself, right as soon as you start warming up, have something with, like a banana or some type of food that has a little bit of carb, for some blood sugar to help get your blood sugars in a position where you're protecting your body against some of the stress that you're about to subject it to. I do not advocate eating within that 1 hour window before working out. And the reason for that is, for many individuals, it will cause more of a reactive hypoglycemia, in which your blood sugar will start to drop, and you'll actually have a negative effect on your ability to perform. So for individuals who wake up first thing in the morning, it often is way better to wait till you get to the gym, then have something, like I said, a banana is great to be able to just give your body some energy and then be able to start training. Some individuals who are very insulin sensitive, if you've taken some type of food and start working out and feel, like you don't have energy or feel even lightheaded, what you may have to do is you may have to start warming up, do a warm-up, make sure your metabolic machinery is starting, and then take some type of food or that banana, but only after you've started to break a light sweat. And those are for some individuals who are very reactive to insulin. Not the majority of people, but for some of them. Where it becomes a bit complicated in the pre-phase is whether or not you're trying to create metabolic adaptations for increasing your body's ability to use fat as an energy source. Then you can get into very specific targeted strategies like training with low glycogen, and that just helps your body metabolically transform itself into using fat as a more efficient fuel source. But those are more specific strategies that get a bit more complicated. We also talk about energizing your brain when we talk about the pre-workout. A lot of people fail to have the best workout because they just can't focus or concentrate. And we'll be talking about a group of products and nutritional strategies that you can take called nootropics. Nootropics are things that help stimulate cognitive performance, so your brain's ability to function, whether it's focus or memory, concentration, and those things can help within your workout as well. Some of the things that you take, like branched-chain amino acids, for instance, have the ability to help reduce the perception of fatigue so that you can actually push harder and train at higher intensities over longer durations without feeling the actual effects as much as you would if you didn't take things like branched-chain amino acids. So how your brain functions is really an important part of it, because a large part of fatigue, what you feel is fatigue that will start to slow you down and hinder your performance, is actually generated from the central nervous system, from your brain and the nervous system itself. Here are some of the things that research and science has uncovered as far as products that you could take, nutritional strategies you can include that are safe for your health. Once again, that's a key priority, but also can maximize your performance, especially in higher intensity situations. L-citrulline is one of them, and L-citrulline is an amino acid that over longer periods of time is capable of spiking your blood levels of L-arginine more than taking L-arginine itself. The result of that, and why you would take it, is a boost in nitric oxide production in the body, leading to greater blood flow and greater endurance for those hard-working muscles that you're using in the workout. And a good level of dosing based on human studies is about 6 grams taken before your workout. Probably, a half an hour or so before is more than fine. But L-citrulline is great for inducing that increased blood flow and getting blood flow to those working muscles to help provide them energy that they need, but also to help wash away waste product that builds up. On a cellular level, the currency that your cells use to create activity and to keep them energized is ATP. That's really that cellular energy currency that keeps your body going. And here's bioenergetics made pretty simple. The more ATP your working muscles have, the harder and longer you can go, period. And compared with placebo studies supplementing with things like ATP show incredible increases in strength and power and lean body mass and overall muscle thickness that are very substantial. Beta-alanine is a common one, and it's used both in the high-intensity kind of athletics and performance world and in the endurance world. And beta-alanine itself can help you push harder with higher levels of intensity over shorter bursts, as well as going longer with longer training, because it helps your muscles kind of buffer the acid that they produce with exercise. You know that burn that you get in the muscles when you've been training hard? Well, beta-alanine can help buffer that. So it can help prevent the onset of that, give you more time so that you can work harder before that happens. And beta-alanine is converted safely in the body. It's not something that's unsafe. It's converted safely in the body to carnosine, and that's what actually buffers the acid itself. And then that gets released when there is a drop in pH, like when you're doing things like high-intensity training. That's that burning sensation. Beta-alanine will often give kind of a tingly sensation on the hands and on the face, but after repetitive use, that will start to subside. And it's not harmful in any way. And typically around 1.6 grams to upwards of 2 are what you want to be looking for. Creatine is really the most studied supplement out there. It basically helps you make more ATP and quickly. And as I mentioned above, the more ATP you have for those working muscles, the longer and harder they can work. It is one of the most studied performance-enhancing molecules, and really with great results for helping improve high-intensity bursts of activity. Creatine is also now being studied for its neuroprotective abilities, so how to protect the brain and help the brain recover from things like concussion and trauma. And this is really going to be something that is quite fascinating and being studied by the academic world. My personal recommendation is to avoid kind of the superdosing and opt for just a daily consumption around 5 grams. I don't see the need for superdosing, and I also advise personally kind of switching between a monohydrate and an HCl, kind of 2.5 grams of each. The HCl version is just as effective, but it has higher water solubility, so it just has different absorption rates, and that can really reduce any of the chances of stomach distress while you're performing and training hard. So that's why I would recommend switching it. And then caffeine. Well, who doesn't love caffeine? I know there's a few of you, but for those of us who do love it, it is probably the most commonly used drug in the world. It is a nootropic because it does affect your brain, but it also increases your ability to stay awake. It increases your thermogenesis, your body's metabolic rate, so it'll help you burn more and be a little bit more alert while you're training. It helps increase that thermic rate, so increase calorie and kind of increase fat burning is one of the things that caffeine has been shown to help with. You don't want to go too high in it because you're gonna get anxiety and kind of jitteriness, but you can take caffeine 250 milligrams kind of as a normal dosing. That's like having a cup of coffee before your training, and that will significantly help. If you find that you're somebody who gets the jitters when you take coffee, you can take L-theanine with it, and that will give you the alertness but without the jitteriness. And you won't get any of the shaking or anything like that that some people will get when they take caffeine. The inner zone is really about managing the catabolic energy debt. And what I mean by catabolic energy debt is with high intensity training, you're never going to be able to get nutrition in at the same ratio that you're expending. The same thing with water. With things like exhaustive exercise, it really isn't beneficial to try to take a lot of food and nutrition in. If you're out there training at lower percentages of your VO2 max for much longer durations, then yes, you need to get calories in, you need to get carbohydrates in order to be able to fuel your body. But for high intensity training, you need to make sure that you're just taking some sort of fluid in to mitigate some of the loss of fluid. You're never going to get all of it back right away while you're training. And then there are some things that you can do, like drinking things with branched chain amino acids. That will help reduce that perception of fatigue that I mentioned. It will also prepare the body to protect itself against kind of protein breakdown. So it'll help engage protein synthesis at a faster rate. You can also have a solution that has a little bit of carbohydrate in it, and even if you just swished or mouth rinsed that carbohydrate in your mouth and you didn't even drink it, it's going to increase your ability to work. And that's really mediated through the central nervous system on a kind of corticomotor basis. So what I traditionally do is I have a drink mix that has branched chain amino acids in there. It has some B vitamins for neurological function and energy. It has a little bit of electrolyte mix from coconut extract. And then I typically put a little splash, just a little one, a little splash of either pure pomegranate or blueberry just for that carbohydrate effect. And that's what I use during the intra-workout. But pretty simple. Water can do the trick, as you're not going to get a lot of energy in while you're training at that higher intensity. The last part of the inner zone, the post, is probably the most significant when it comes to helping your body repair and improving its adaptive capacity to repair itself after training specifically. And recovery really is performance. Most of the athletes I work with who are ending up injured and doing things that over time their bodies start to break down, they're really missing this window, that recovery window. And that window is really the anabolic window. So when you're training, you're breaking your body down, you're breaking down tissue, you're creating micro damage, and to combat that, you really want to try to get as anabolic as quickly as possible. Switch from catabolic during training to anabolic. That's going to help your body rebuild and repair at a faster rate, and it's going to help rebuild that stronger, leaner, healthier tissue. So that anabolic window is what you're trying to create, and that's by just getting your body into a positive protein synthesis state by taking things like protein right after you work out. And there is a specific window that your body is more open to being replenished after training, and that's typically within that first 15 minutes to 30 minutes after training. You don't want to miss that window. You really want to make sure you're getting good quality protein in and carbohydrates. And why carbohydrates? That's to help replace glycogen. Now I know many of you are thinking, I only train for an hour and I don't really need that because all of the studies on glycogen replenishment are really for long-term exercise over multiple hours with endurance athletes. And you'd be right, most of the research is on that. But when it comes to glycogen depletion, what people have failed to recognize is that glycogen depletion is dependent on intensity. So I can have you go out and run for 5 hours, which is pretty damn intensive for most people, or I can have you do a 1 mile max run and then as many burpees as you can for the remaining time with a total time cap of 10 minutes. Now that is exceptionally hard, and you're going to end up with glycogen depletion even though it's 10 minutes. So the body and its glycogen levels are exceptionally important for being able to perform at your best and being able to perform again the next day. And if you're doing 2-a-day workouts, then even more so as far as its level of importance. But glycogen replenishment is extremely important even if you are only training within that 60-minute window. If you're training with any level of intensity, you need to replenish glycogen. And I use products that are of higher quality, things like waxy maize and potato starch maltodextrin, because I don't like that simple table sugar going into the system. I think it has a long-term negative effect. And yes, in studies comparing chocolate milk to water, will chocolate milk fare better as far as showing improved recovery and following day performance? Absolutely. But there are better alternatives that provide better replenishment sources for glycogen than simple table sugar. I'm not a big fan of sugar. it has a lot of negative consequences on the body and quite frankly, negative consequences for your long-term health. The protein and carbohydrate blend really helps with improving protein synthesis and rebuilding that physical structure of your body, making it stronger and more resilient to harder training in the future. And that's how you progress, that's how you get better. So maximizing that window is extremely important. Other things that you can take that are going to help your body in its ability to resist the stress of training, well, things like astaxanthin, say that 12 times in a row. That's really a natural product as well. It's what makes salmon pink, and it's been shown to have very high anti-inflammatory properties. It's been shown to help prevent muscle breakdown under intense stress, and it helps protect from cellular damage that can occur with intense physical exercise. All of which things that are going to help your body in its adaptive capacity. It's going to help protect and help repair the body. Things that you want to look for when you're talking about going to the next level in your performance. Another one is tart cherry. We use this a lot in the pro cyclist during the Tour de France with the amount of just physical stress and strain of riding, hours and hours and hours and hours a day, day over day over day for almost an entire month. So tart cherry was a very common one for us. It really has benefits for helping reduce muscle soreness, kind of that delayed onset muscle soreness, and has anti-inflammatory and very high antioxidant kind of values. The antioxidant component of it is really what helps the body prevent the rusting that can occur when you get free radical damage. So free radicals are those rust agents that your body produces when you're breathing, and when you're training, you're breathing harder, so you're producing more free radicals. And the antioxidants can help prevent that. And you don't want to overload in those. There is a balance point. Too much of anything is not good. So even when it comes to nutrition, it's not, more is better. It's better is better. And some things in the body, if you try to put more into it, it surpasses the value that it was going to provide with the right dose, and now it becomes more of a negative for your health. The outer zone, as we talked about earlier, is kind of your overall base nutrition and things that you can do just to help you, once again, maximize your performance while protecting your health. And that really is about increasing your energy, having better repair and better protective capacity as well. So nootropics, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, these are things that help improve mental focus and cognitive performance, helping you stay a little bit more engaged. Caffeine is the most common one that's been used around the world, but you can get into other ones like synephrine, huperzine, L-theanine, Nerigin, vinpocetine, and all of those things are, once again, help you and improve cognitive performance, but they don't make you jittery. And I think this is going to be a very exciting field for nutrition and performance nutrition and supplementation in the next few years. Helping to reduce discomfort, taking things like that help your body reduce inflammation and help it withstand some of the strain of training. Willow bark is a good one. And then there's other adaptogens like anti-inflammatory protection like turmeric, and kind of Ayurvedic formulations like ashwagandha, bromelain, rhodiola, things like ginseng are common adaptogens that have been taken in the past. And other than ginseng, most of those products have some pretty good evidence to support looking into them more and seeing where they may fit within your overall plan for performance nutrition. Ultimately, you want to reduce the stress response of the body, and by stress response, cortisol being one of the key ones. And simply taking some type of carb after your training can have a huge impact in the amount of cortisol that your body produces with training. So if you're trying to improve your stress response and reduce cortisol, taking a carb after training is a great way to do so. And just so you know, People who avoid taking recovery drinks and recovery formulations after training typically do so because they're trying to make sure their body still stays in that fat burning zone and burn that fat and not give it any fuel. But the studies that I've seen, the individuals who take a recovery formulation end up losing more weight as fat and maintaining more leaner muscle than the people who don't do a recovery drink. So you're actually accomplishing the opposite of what you want with abstinence of taking any type of recovery drink. And cortisol, the more you produce, the more belly fat you're actually going to have. So it really is a good strategy to make sure you're hitting that recovery window. And also in that outer zone, it's about the physical structure. So making sure you're hitting that anabolic window that can last way longer than just that 15 or 30 minutes after training. That's the most ideal time to start it. That's when it's most open. That's when it's most receptive to replenishing your glycogen. But that anabolic window stays open for a long time. So a great strategy is fueling your body with at least 20 grams of protein every 3 hours after that initial kind of post-workout, and you're really going to maintain the maximum amount of that anabolic window being open. And that's going to help you rebuild kind of that muscle tissue and put on more mass as muscle. Sleep, that's a big one. And if you're training with any level of intensity, sometimes sleeping is very difficult. So getting into using things from a nutritive value that can help you sleep. That can be simply just taking some type of carb and protein at night before you go to bed. Sometimes individuals eat dinner and then they don't eat anything and then they go to bed and they're actually waking up in the middle of the night because their brains are starving for blood sugar. And your brain can only utilize glucose, and a lot of times when your brain is hungry, you'll wake up frequently throughout the night. So if you're not sleeping well and you're waking up many times throughout the night, you might just be hungry, and you might have what's called nocturnal hypoglycemia, which is rather common. If that's not the case for you, but you just need to reduce the stress and you need to calm your body down and help it sleep better, then you can use things like L-theanine that was mentioned earlier. You know, they help you relax, but they don't sedate you. Melatonin, GABA, things like chamomile, all of those things are there to help calm the body down. And once your body is more relaxed and in a calm state, you'll likely have a better sleep. So what supplements should I take is a common question that I'm asked. And my answer to that, and obviously this can be an entire presentation in and of itself, and I may come back and do that, but it really comes down to what you're trying to target. If you're trying to target putting on more lean muscle, you need to make sure that you've got that anabolic window maximized. If you're trying to make sure your body recovers better and that you have more energy outside of just your workout, you don't want to go and work out and give 100% and then you only got 50% for the rest of your day, then you need to make sure you're taking things that are going to help maximize that recovery portion and take something right after you work out. You know, I run 3 different companies, I train every day, I have 2 little girls, and I have a busy life. I can't go and give 100% in a training session and then be a bag of crap for the rest of the day or go home and just kick my feet up. So I need to employ different strategies from a performance nutrition perspective that help me stay energized and connected and healthy all the time, not just during my workout. And you want to make sure you're taking supplements that have some type of credentials behind them. Either the person that's formulated them based on science, you want to make sure that they're independently tested and certified with things like informed choice or NSF as far as the overall credentials that they have for making sure that it's a clean product. And then, as I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of sugar, so I wouldn't put it in my products. And I don't think you should be taking it as well. So you want to look for things that are clean. To sum everything up, this is kind of what I go through with my clients and when I'm teaching kind of exercise science on an overview. And obviously this one slide can become an entire weekend of training. But here we have a baseball diamond, for those of you who were not sure what it was. And obviously on the outer part of that baseball diamond is your outer zone, right? What you do every day with the food you take in. And remember, a foundation of good nutrition is your starting point. From there, we've got the intra, and if it's a workout that's an hour or less, water or some branched chain amino acids, a little bit of carbohydrate solution, very small, can help you perform better. Otherwise, just water and then focus on getting your body into a restorative state after. But as soon as you walk up to the mound, this is your pre-nourish, this is your pre-workout, taking things like L-citrulline, creatine, beta-alanine, ATP, caffeine. Those can significantly improve your ability to push harder and feel better in your workout. Then what I call the limber phase is the first base, getting the body kind of active, going through certain movements and motions that go through full ranges but don't hold any end range, and just activate the body, getting it ready for the next phase, right, which is second base, which is loading, going through the rigors of your workout, whatever the demands are, whether it's strength or whether you're wadding or whatever it may be. That's the load portion. It may even be playing tennis, going out and playing. That's the load. And then at the end, that's when you engage in lengthening and mobility-based work to try to get the body to recover, allow it to, reduce some of the strain on the muscles by getting them to elongate and feel better. That'll help you with preventing some soreness. And then your post-nourish. That's when you fuel your body with the right ingredients. I particularly choose, with the type of training I do, which is high intensity, a 1-to-1 ratio of carbohydrate to protein. So I typically go around 25 grams of protein and 25 grams of carbohydrate. That gives my body what it needs to engage protein synthesis, replenish my glycogen, help repair my body and get it into that anabolic state. And that's typically the overall paradigm that I teach for performance nutrition. Now I'm also teaching at CanFit Pro this year in August, and I'll be going into more detail with the things that I've presented here today, and I would love to see you there. And I appreciate today, and for those of you who go through and take this, I appreciate your attention to continual learning. If you have any questions or any comments, my email is on the bottom slide, drjardine@feelingprettyremarkable.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and hopefully I will see you in August. Again, thank you very much.
Amazing, and a big thanks to Dr. Jardine for taking the time to share your breadth of knowledge and experience with us. For our members, if you would like to do the related quiz for one CanFit Pro continuing education credit, it will be available from your interactive account. And again, as he mentioned, for anyone who would like to obtain more information about Dr. Jardine's performance coaching or performance nutrition, please visit either www.feelingprettyremarkable.com or www.mycrossfuel.com. Again, thanks to everyone and to Kevin Jardine, and have a wonderful day.